Hey everyone, welcome to this Quick Start Basics class. Tonight is core number 1, Getting Started Right. We are Bess McCarty, the shrink of MLM, coach for network marketers, and Jeffrey David Gamble of My Leadership Network. And we're partnering to bring you this generic training, the Quick Start Basics for network marketers, the 10 core commitments in our generic school, every Sunday night right here at 9 p.m. Our purpose is to help people grow, to educate, equip, and empower entrepreneurs, and create independent servant leaders. We want to really raise the bar in this profession. So welcome to this. We would like to begin with some announcements before we get started. So grab a pen and paper because we want to let you know what's coming up here. On Monday through Friday is our MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show at noon Eastern Time, where we cover one of the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership by John Maxwell. And this one coming up is law number 19, the law of timing. So it's when is as important as what or how we do things. This is a free show. A whole lot of you do come on the show. It's becoming increasingly popular, getting a lot of views. And you're welcome to invite friends to it too. That's free and open to everyone. The leadership laws are important because they teach you how to apply these 10 core commitments. So very, very important. And the deep dive into leadership is our Wednesday night class, the MLM Leadership University. So I know that some of you are in that. And if you would like more information about that, then just message me. I can send you a link, or you'll find it in the Facebook group. And members, since you are already in the Quick Start Basics class, there is a discount for you to be in that leadership group. So we're glad to pass that on to you. The purpose, again, of the leadership is to apply the 10 core better. It's just incredible how what we teach with the Maxwell leadership in that class deepens you as a person, right, guys? The people who are on the call could attest to that. So it deepens you person, community, family member, business person. It's just so far-reaching and astounding. So glad that we can bring you that. Now on Tuesdays, every Tuesday, 3 p.m. at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, every Tuesday for almost a year now, Jeff and I have been coming on teaching an aspect of network marketing. And this Tuesday coming up is I'll have to look up that one or get back with you on that one. But last time we covered the hierarchy of human needs and how that applies to network marketing. Let's see. I'll see if the other one coming up will come to me. Guess what? We have an open house coming up on July 7th, Sunday, July 7th. And we're going to have one every month, the first Sunday of the month. It's going to be in the afternoon. And we'll let you know that exact time, but it would be either 3 or 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And that will be a separate 1-hour class, sample of this class that you can invite your team to or friends to. Everyone is welcome to come to that. The public is welcome to come to that one. So it'll be July 7th. We'll let you know about that as we get closer to it. Just a very, very quick intro. You might know that Jeff has personally recruited over 500 people frontline and has 24 years of experience in network marketing and direct sales, done over 10,000 presentations himself. So he brings all of this experience to the school. Me, body-mind therapist, holistic health practitioner for 35 years, personally have helped hundreds of network marketers have breakthroughs through the blocks, the negative beliefs and the fears that keep them from succeeding. I've had my own business, but I'm generic now. Had my own business full-time, network marketing full-time for years. But now I'm a shrink helping people to break through their blocks. So the 10 core commitments, the foundation. Number 1 is getting started right, which we're covering tonight. Number 2, be here a year from now. Number 3, personal development. Number 4, market daily. Number 5, present daily. Number 6, attend a weekly presentation. Number 7, attend a weekly core training, which you're on. Number 9, attend monthly regional. Number 9, attend all company conventions. And 10, have a massive monthly action plan. Might want to grab your pen and paper also to take lots of notes tonight, because that's what always happens. These are packed, jam-packed, just full of information. Now, at the 90-minute mark, we will turn off the recording and then we want to hear from you what your favorite takeaway was, any questions you might have, or any tips or comments that you might also like to share with the group. There are 10 levels in all of this core training. There's infinite levels, really, but we do have 10 certificates for you. And so when you've completed listening to all 10 in person or by replay, I know this is for all the people who listen to the replay out there too, because a lot of you are. When you've completed all 10 of those, let us know, and we will issue a certificate for you for that level. Now, we have 10 certificates in all, so once you've gone through all 10, start over, keep track of that, let us know. And I want to congratulate Jim Bailey and also now Pasha, who's now completed her 3rd level. So you'll be getting a certificate, Pasha, and there are more people coming up into the 3rd level, I know. So we have that for you. And tonight, turn this over to Jeff right now to start out with the 10 core commitments. After, best welcome Steve Redden, and I think it's Adrian at 973, if I'm right. So welcome, everybody.
All right, welcome. I hope everybody's having a great weekend so far. Beth, can you hear me? Okay, so I hope everybody's having a great weekend, and, tonight is, going over through the 10 core, but also getting started right. And I have some cool stuff for you that I can share from personal experience, a little bit of, what happens, what to look at. The 10 core, again, are, getting started right. That's where we're going to start. Be here a year from now. Personal development. Market daily. Present daily. Attend a weekly open house. Attend a weekly core training. Attend a regional. Attend all conventions, and then the map. If you realize, about half of everything we teach is just showing up. And I know there's a famous quote that says, showing up is 80% of the game, which is true. Just showing up is a bunch of the game, but it's also doing some of the work to, get things moving. And all of us want to get things moving. Some of the people here have implemented some of this, and the results, speak for themselves. We have people who are, selling and getting first customers. We have people who are able to contact a ton of people, and they're actually getting people on the phone, and they're doing more presentations than they've ever done. We have people who are building teams. We have people who are promoting to different levels. We have people who are recruiting people. So what's great to see, I guess, as feedback is people's success and testimonials that this stuff is actually working. And here's what I found. It not only works inside of direct sales and network marketing, it works outside of direct sales and network marketing. The principles are solid enough where they can exist outside of the world of MLM. So that's something that I do look at from being and having multiple companies, multiple businesses. So for those of you who don't know, we're involved in a lot of stuff. And I get asked a lot of times, people like, oh yeah, that's that whole, have multiple streams of income. And what I can say is before you have multiple streams of income, make sure you have one income that passes 6 figures. Don't start another one until you have one that passes 6 figures. Find something that makes over 6 figures, and then start adding. And the reason I've kind of say it like that is until you're seen as an expert in one field, it's very hard to branch out into multiple fields and be looked at as an expert, be good at what you do, and understand the dynamics of how it all works. Find one thing that you can make work, figure it out, and then start adding to. So Brandy and I, coming into this, our main part-time, full-time thing is what I would call it, but it was full-time in the beginning was the 317 Holistic Health. So Brandy and I are naturopathic doctors. Holistic health practitioners would be another way to, say what we do, which involves everything from health and wellness coaching to, dealing with anything a general practitioner would deal with. I don't get into, a lot of the illnesses. I don't get into a lot of the terminal things, but we do have somebody that works in our studio that does that. On top of the fact that we have now 7, 8, I think there's 8 or 9 people who work underneath the umbrella of 317 Holistic Health. That's one of the things we do. The second thing that sometimes I even forget is Meridian Street Realty Group. So Meridian Street Realty Group is a traditional real estate company, buy and sell and list and all that. But the main reason I've always kept my broker's license is sometimes I forget there's 5 people underneath the umbrella of that company that at any one time will sell between 1 and 3 houses a year. I don't do an enormous amount of sales. I don't do an enormous amount of listings, but I do have the brokerage in place to be able to help out friends who basically diversified and wanted real estate as part of the game. Now that I'm doing what I'm doing inside of the industry of network marketing, there's kind of a link to something I do where I'm using my real estate more and more, and we're actually going to be putting out and selling again, which is always something that I have fun doing, but I don't like having to do it. I like doing it for fun, being able to help people. So real estate is something that will always be there in the background. I think it's a great ROI, return on investment, long term. And many of you are looking for what to do with the money. You know, you make a bunch of money in network marketing. What are you going to go do with it? I was taught by one of my mentors early on. He said, you better make as much money outside of network marketing as you do inside of network marketing. Meaning, if you make 6 figures in direct sales, you better be making 6 figures outside of direct sales. He goes, you want to do that for safety. You also want to do that for intelligent financial, health. What is your financial health? He says, you should have at least 2 incomes at all time. Always a business that's growing, and you either have a job that supports you or you have an investment that has a high enough ROI to cover all of your bills. If you don't understand that language, there's a great book. Actually, there's a couple great books, but one of them is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The other one is The Unfair Advantage. Both of those are by Robert Kiyosaki. So outside of that, then we have this school. I partnership with Best to be able to bring to anyone really who wants to learn what are the basics of being able to build a direct sales organization, one that works independently, one that you can become free of kind of a lot of the headaches inside of direct sales. There's a ton of information in this industry, and that's one of the problems, is there's so much information in the industry, you can get bogged down by all the shiny lights, bright programs, 1,000 video programs, new audios, new books. I mean, there is literally something coming out almost every day that is like, ooh, buy me, look at me, watch me. But what I found is that until you have the basics down and until you know the pattern of being able to bring somebody into your business and recruit them, you can get lost really, really easily. And what I mean by lost is you can get caught up in programs. You can get caught up in sales cycle. You can get caught up in buying the next up-level program because there's a lot of upsells inside of our industry, inside of especially the training side of the industry. So one of the things I wanted to do with Best is just make something that was so inexpensive that anybody could participate that wanted to, and we could provide some of the best content where people could get the basics down, and then from there you can grow and figure things out. So that's where that getting started right really comes from, and we'll go into some details of that here in a second. From there, Brandy and I are actually building a network marketing company on top of that. So if you think about that, that's 4 different things. At any one time in any one day, I might have activities in all 4 of those areas, and you can't really leave anything behind because several of those things, if you do miss anything, it costs like big, huge money, or it really hurts people. So it's kind of like you have to be on the ball all the time. That's why I have Brandy. That's why I have a notebook. That's why I have a calendar. That's why I have multiple email accounts and multiple reminders going off. Just trying to get it all done and put it all together. Do I eventually want to get out of doing some of that? Yeah, absolutely. The ideal is being able to build a direct sales business large enough that the money funds enough real estate and the real estate funds enough cash flow that really you don't have to show up anywhere and anytime ever again. Other than to collect the checks, right? You always have to collect the checks. You always have to pay the bills. You always have to pay the taxes. As long as you do those 3 things, you can kind of go wherever you want. We were actually talking to a friend of ours about moving and living in other places, and over the weekend, yesterday, we actually ran into a guy who's has a friend from college that actually moved to Thailand. He's teaching English in Thailand. He makes $22,000 a year, which doesn't sound like an enormous amount of money. It's only about $1,800 a month. But his rent for a 3-bedroom condo or 3-bedroom apartment in a high-rise in one of the nicest areas in Thailand is $250 a month. $250 a month. Food is approximately $100 to $200 a month. So, I mean, if you can run the numbers on that, I mean, that's a pretty, I mean, he's banking, you know, he's able to keep a lot of his money living overseas. And I'm not saying that that's what you want to do long term, but I think, imagine setting up your life where you had enough money coming in from your direct sales business that covered absolutely every bill you had, and then you had another income outside of that to invest, to save, and, you know, to be able to give away. I mean, what kind of a cool thing would that be? It'd be a good life, right? So, but to get things straight, because there's so much information out there, you have to get down a pattern that you're going to run people through. And if you don't have a pattern that you're going to run through people through, then what you're going to do is you're constantly going to be introducing people to a new system. And every time you introduce people to a new system, you will lose half the people to begin with. The most, I would say the biggest person you're going to mess up is you in the beginning. Because before you have a lot of people on your team, what happens is you have one philosophy of how you're going to do this, and then you learn a new program, and then now you have a new philosophy how to do this. Then you learn a new program, and you have a new philosophy how to do this, and now you have 3 different systems fighting each other. So that's kind of where I started in the business. You know, every time somebody came into town and had a different way to do this, what I realized is, you know, I started looking for the commonalities. I was like, what are the things that these people do in common? So that way I can pick out the things that are in common, and I can start narrowing this down. What is the absolute bare minimum that has to get done to be able to produce the results that we're seeing here? And just like anything, there's a half a dozen things that make 80% of the difference. And that's what I was looking for. But I think a lot of it has to do with this programming that you get. And people are programmed one way or another. People are programmed to be an entrepreneur. Some people are programmed to be self-employed. Some people are programmed to be a career employee. Some people are programmed to just get a job. Some people are programmed to be unemployed and live off the system. And what I mean by some people are programmed is society's programming you. Maybe a family member's programming you. Maybe a culture is programming you, because certain people buy into a certain culture, and that culture will preach certain things to you, and that's how you're going to run your life. And unfortunately, if you buy into some of those programs, what also you do is you buy into the lifestyle that it provides. And it's very difficult to build a business that has a different philosophy over here when you're fighting the philosophy that you have, that you're living off of. So I find that really interesting, and it's fascinating in some cases. And we say fascinating anytime it's really difficult and hard to deal with. Sometimes it's fascinating to deal with. Certain people who have completely conflicting views. You know, they're like, I want this, but this is what I want over here, and they're just conflicting on how you're going to do things. So obviously an entrepreneur, I mean, think about this. How an entrepreneur thinks about what they should do on a daily basis and who needs to give them what to supply to do, and a job employee mentality is totally different. It's very different. The next philosophy you run into is you know, unlimited versus limited. Unlimited meaning your glass is half full, and that's how you look at everything you're doing, or limited, like there's only one glass. So some people look at life as there's only one piece of pie. There's only one piece of pie out there, and if somebody takes a piece, then there's less for everybody else. And that's how people view everything that they do. So when one individual makes a bunch of money, that means there's less money for everybody else, which unfortunately is not true, because money's fake. Money's fake. Money's actually printed, guys. So for those of you who think if one person makes a lot of money, I mean, and there are people who teach and preach that philosophy that there's only so much money out there, and that's absolute garbage, because it's printed. It's fake, right? I mean, look at the money. If you have money laying around, if you have coins, whatever, we print those. That's all fake. And it's even going to be more fake soon, because it's all gone digital. You know, I was just on Bitcoin is up to like $8,900 right now, and I have some friends that have invested in that. And I'm not preaching invest in that or don't invest in that. I think that's totally up to you. You need to make your own decision and be very, very, very careful anytime you invest in anything that is potentially could get regulated. You know, you have to be smart about that. But I have some friends that are heavily vested in it, and they're now saying it's going to be, you know, it's going to go again, and it's, you know, and they're on the hype wagon. And there's a lot of hype wagon stuff out there, and you have to be very, very careful to buy into. It's always going to be perfect. I don't believe in the one piece of pie theory, because here's another, idea. Everybody says, well, there's limited resources. You have to look. There's limited resources. There's only so much oil, and there's only so much land, and there's only so much, which is all true based on technology today. Based on technology today. Did you know that in the late 70s, we were going to run out of oil, right? In the early 1900s, there's actually an article, it's really funny, in the New York Times. There's an article in the New York Times in the early 1900s that says that the current rate of the population going up in New York City, based on the amount of horses coming into town, that New York City will be buried in 10 feet of manure within the next 20 years. And if you've ever been there, the smell is pretty accurate. But it didn't get buried in manure. Smells like it, but it didn't. Certain sections do smell that way. But what ended up happening? Technology came in. In the 20s, in the early 1900s, the manufacturing of automobiles was invented, and there was a guy that said the automobile will never take off. The day that the conveyor belt started up, that guy spent all of his money. He invested everything in 10,000 horses. And as Gary Vaynerchuk put it so nicely, that guy lost. That guy lost. So not only is there not a limited amount of money, there's not a limited amount of resources. Why? Because they ended up creating technology that basically fixed that. And technology is always out there fixing issues and fixing problems and changing things. We said, look, there's not going to be enough people to fill the jobs to transport everything. And now what happened? Now they've got trucks that are going to drive back and forth without people in them, and now people are scared that there's not going to be any jobs in transportation. Right? So there's always people who are going to complain about stuff. What you have to do is think this stuff through and think, is it limited or unlimited? That's one of the philosophies. The next thing is how do you identify? Do you identify yourself as a successful person that figures things out, or do you identify yourself as unsuccessful? Now, here's what's crazy. I have friends that make $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 a year, and they consider themselves unsuccessful in a lot of cases, especially dealing with network marketing. And I'm like, do you realize that you earn more than about 90% of the world ever has? Ever. Like in human existence, you've out-earned probably 98% of people in the world. And you're complaining that you don't have, they have an unsuccessful mindset because, why? Because it's not in the specific area. I'm like, yeah, but you out-earn most people. Like just by saying, yeah, I do this, but, my earnings, I usually earn around $90,000 a year, but the problem is I have to show up for that money. I was looking for a way not to end up like some of my friends who are 70 and 80 years old still doing the job I'm doing. I wanted a way out, and that's what I saw with network marketing. That's a much stronger sell than the product or the compensation plan or the company or the timing. It's just that's what sells. So do you identify yourself as successful or unsuccessful? What you have to realize is if anybody's done this before, then you can do it. If anybody's done it, all you have to do is study what they did and do what they did. But the weird thing is especially in direct sales and network marketing, how many people have been successful in this industry? Tons. If there was only one person that had been successful so far and we all had to track one person down, I would say, look, not everybody can do this. But for the amount of people that have made six figures that literally can't tie their shoes and chew gum at the same time, we all have hope. I've met people. I met a guy just recently, $200,000 earner. and I'm listening to him talk, and I'm like, that person just asked him a direct question, and he didn't hear it, and he's totally off on another tangent in another area. They're $200,000 earners. Great people, but I'm like, totally missed the point. And I was like, if that guy can do it, everybody here can do it. It's just, are you willing to do what they did? The next thing is your thinking. Do you think long-term? Or do you think short-term? Now, in the end, what do you want? You have to think long-term. Successful people think long-term, period. Yes, you have to also think short-term sometimes. I mean, there's decisions that need to be made every day. But overall, most people think too much short-term. It's too much. It's too much make me feel good right now. It's too much gluttony right now. It's too much jealousy right now. It's too much me right now, and not enough discipline for long-term. You know, everybody wants the magic pill, the magic vitamin, the magic drink, the magic whatever that'll fix everything right now, but they're not looking at the long-term effect. So you want to get around people, especially when it comes to business, you look for people who are thinking long-term about what they're doing. It's about compounding over time, not what can I turn on for one day. You know, too many people are like, I'm looking for a system that I can turn it on for one day and make it to the top of the chart. I'm like, yeah, there's probably one person who's done it, but that's not normal. Short term, I'm just trying to, so I listen for these things that people say, and I know whether they're thinking long-term or short-term. You know, short-term thinking, I'm just trying to get by. I'm just wasting time, or I'm just killing time. What you doing today? I'm doing nothing. I'm just killing, sorta, kinda. I'll think about it. I'm trying. Like, as soon as I hear those words, I know those are people who are doing what? They're thinking short-term. The long-term approach is, I know what to do. I'm doing it. I'm tracking it. It's not working as fast as I want it to. I'm like, well, high five, because it's not working as fast as I want it to either. How do you make things work faster? You do more of the simple things that you don't want to do. I don't know what else to tell you. You know, you do more of the simple things that you don't want to do. If you want to lose weight faster, you have to run on the treadmill a little bit longer. You have to work out with the weights a little bit longer. Or you have to be a little bit more restrictive in your diet. Just a little bit. You don't have to be a lot. You just have to be a little bit every single day. Because it's not how much you can lose in a day that's important. It's how much you lose in a month or in 90 days that's really important. So instead of tracking every second, we track every week. And then we look at what added up to that week's loss. And then you adjust as you go. Most of success is adjustment. David Roeder's here. What's up, sir? We were just talking about this the other night. The next is attitude. You can either have a positive or negative attitude. Your attitude is really how you feel about things. A positive attitude is an attitude of faith. We imagine things going right. Isn't that silly? We just imagine things going right. What do they teach you in school? Stop imagining and get with the program. Right? They want you to kill that imagination thing. Just be, have you ever heard be real, be realistic, be broke? Every once in a while that'll get thrown in there. Just be broke. Just be broke like the rest of us. Be broke-minded, be broke-spirited. Just be broke, because that's a great position to be in. If you're just, you know, don't shoot for the stars. Just be right here on the ground. It'll be cool, you know. And we get trained by that philosophy of negative thinking. This is what simple things are overlooked in network marketing. Right. So negative. The feeling that a negative thought is really fear-based. It's imagining something going wrong. That's it. That's what negative is. It's imagining something going wrong. And some people are so good at this, they're like, man, I can find something negative about anything. I'm like, wow, what a gift. You know, that's pretty special. I mean, how did you develop such keen intellect there that you can just figure out what's going to go wrong? Now, if you're an engineer, I totally get that. Jim Rohn talks about a blames list. He had a blames list. He's like, you know what's wrong? It was the economy. You know what's wrong? It's who's in office. You know what's wrong? It's the policies. It's the tax bracket. It's the area I live in. It's the school system. It was my family. Right? We all have these different reasons that we feel that we can't succeed. And what you'll find is if you look hard, you'll always find somebody that had the exact same circumstances you did, and they made it anyway. So how is that true? How is that possible? It's a lot of times it's the attitude, it's how they looked at it. Some people look at, oh my gosh, this is so terrible, I'm going to be here forever. Some people look at, oh my gosh, this is so terrible, I'm never going to be here again. Then you have actions. There are dream-driven actions, and there are reactive actions. Most people are reactive. Most people are reactive to what happens. Most people are circumstantial driven. They don't have a plan getting up in the morning. It's just whatever happens to them, then they get stuck working on, looking at, or figuring out whatever problem arises in the morning. If you're dream-driven, you have that same problem come up, but you go around it. You're just like, I need to fix this as fast as possible to get to where I'm going. Other people that aren't, or the more reactive, they'll have stuff happen to them, and then they'll sit around and talk about it for the next 10 years. Maybe even 20. I have somebody that's working on at least 15 years. Every time I talk to them, they've told me the same story of why they can't make it. And every year that story's gotten older. And I'm like, they're literally living the same year over and over and over. I mean, you talk about Groundhog's Day. They're living the same pain, the same frustration, the same negativity every single year over and over and over again. And they're going on at least 15 years right now. I mean, that's painful. But do you think they're dream-driven or are they reactive-driven? Habits. Some people's habits are planned out because their activities are planned out because they're dream-driven, they're goal-driven. They know where they're going. Habit-driven are planned, focused, disciplined, consistent, and here's the most important one, tracked. Tracked. Because the only way you can absolutely, positively guarantee that you're moving forward is if you tracked it and know that you're moving forward. Which is why, you know, in our company, I know exactly what's going on and I have exactly what's happening every single day. I've tracked it. Like I wrote it down every day. Here's where we're at. Here's where we're at. Here's where we're at. I have where I want to be, but here's where we're at. Am I moving forward? We went from 1931 to 2395. I know we're moving forward. Are we moving forward at the pace I want? Heck no. Heck no. Slow. But we are moving forward. I track how many presentations I'm doing. Why? Because eventually I want to turn around and teach people this is what it takes to get there. Reactive. Reactive people are circumstantial, they're random, they're unplanned. Then you have results-oriented. What are the results I'm getting? I found dream-based people, because they're around other people who have made it, because they're counseling and talking to and coaching with people who have made it or seen other people make it, it's predictable, it's planned, and it's tracked. That's the kind of results you want. I want predictable results, I want planned results, I want tracked results. I know that I'm moving forward. I know that I'm doing the exact same thing that somebody else did to get to where I want to go, and I know that I'll make it, as opposed to random, unplanned, and unexplainable. I mean, have you ever heard this? I don't know why I'm in the situation I'm in. Let's break this down. You made this decision, and this decision, and this decision, and this decision, and you ended up here. So here's just an idea. Let's go back and not make any of those decisions again. Lifestyle. Your lifestyle is either going to be dream-driven, goal-focused, and activity-tracked, or it's going to be random, unplanned, unexplainable, and somewhat lucky that you're still here. Last is legacy. You're either going to leave a great example to follow, or you're going to leave a warning or a lesson of what not to do. You know, and we all have that family member. Don't do what they did. You know, Jim Rohn says, wouldn't you want to meet somebody whose life is completely messed up and be like, what did you do to get here? Like, so I can avoid those mistakes. But that's programming. How do you change your programming? We change your programming by the ideas of what you listen to, what you watch, what you read, and who you hang out with. It makes a difference. So how do you get started right? Well, the first thing you have to do is find out what are the 10 things that I need to know. That's the first thing. What are the 10 things I need to know to get going, to get started right? You're going to have to become committed to those 10 things. Committed to those 10 things. Then, not only do you have to here's the thing. Everybody's worried about getting other people started right, and they haven't started themselves. Well, what am I going to do when I get people started? See, if you just start yourself right, then you have the pattern to start everybody else right. Did you make a list of 10 people? Did you contact those 10 people using a contact that everybody else can use? Were you able to get those 10 people in front of a presentation? Were you able to get an answer at the end of the presentation, which is, will you refer me? Are you interested in buying something? Or are you interested in joining? Or do you want more information about this? You know, those are the 4 outcomes. But did you get started right doing that? And if you didn't get started right doing that, then that's where to start. You're like, I need to start right. You don't need to start anybody else right until you've started right. Because those people are going to say, well, what did you do? Well, I haven't done that yet. Okay, well, I'm going to do what you're doing. Actually, I'm going to do half of what you're doing. So if you've done nothing, they're going to do half of nothing. Do you think they'll be successful? Be tough. Got to obey the laws of duplication, protect your team, and learn this growth cycle thing. So people are going to look at you and say, can I do what you just did? Can I do what you just did? Do I have the time to do what you just did? And am I okay to doing that with my friends, family, and neighbors? This is where the favor script came in the 10-minute. Because here's how I was taught in the beginning. I'm just going to give you an example. This is what I was taught, and you've been in network marketing a long time. You've probably heard something like this. They would sit you down and say, here's how to get started. Make a list of 100 people. The first thing is, 100 people is a lot of people. It's not a lot of people, but it's a lot of people the very first time you ever sit down to do this. And if you've ever tried to do this, what ends up happening is you'll spend an hour or 2 hours sitting there thinking about, oh my gosh, who am I going to, well, I wanted, they could do it, but they can't do it. You're making all these irrational decisions based on where you're at, where your self-esteem's at, where you think they're at, and how they're going to react to it, and you're using that magical ball. I don't know if you've ever seen people use the magical ball when they go to contact somebody. They'll bring up their uncle or their friend or their cousin or somebody they work with. They're like, woo, and they're like, will this person want to do it? And, and they're like, no, because they made way too much money to be able to do that, and you totally make the decision for them based on what you think the reaction is based on your low self-esteem, because you think they're doing better than you, so therefore why would they want to look at it? Because they're actually not looking at the business, they're looking at you. And that's how that's really what's going on. You just have that gut feeling. This is where your positive or negative comes in. After you make a list of 100 people, and you've already prejudged the entire list in your head, now you're supposed to contact them. But the contact I was taught to use was either the curiosity approach, which is you tell them absolutely not a single thing, and it's a mystery of why you want to get together. Hey, man, I really want to get together with you. Okay, what are we going to talk about? Oh, it's important, but I can't tell you. Or invite them to a meeting that they don't know what they're coming to, which always has great reactions. One step worse is I've actually seen people who basically out and out tell their people to lie to people to get them to come. Tell them it's a party. Tell them it's a bar mitzvah. Tell them it's and just all these different reasons that have nothing to do with what you're actually going to tell them. And they lie to people to bring them out, and then they wonder why they get a bad reaction. So if you wonder why our industry has the stigma to it, it's because people have really done some dumb stuff and really created the stigma more than anything. And it's just unprofessional, and it's unnecessary. Also, I was taught to use the, hey, would you be open or interested in making more money? One of my mentors, that's what he used. He's like, hey, man, are you open or are you open to making more money? And he made a really good point. He's like, I'm not going to sit down with anybody that's not open to making more money. The only problem with the contact that I felt with that specific approach is if you've never made big money, should you take advice from people who are doing financially worse than you? The answer is no. Therefore, most people would not sit down with you and look at it if they make more money than you do. And the goal is to get it. For those of you who don't know, the goal is to get in front of people who make more money than you do. You want to sponsor up. I was taught this in the very beginning. Maybe I've never said this on this show, this class, whatever. Your goal is to consistently sponsor up and teach your people to sponsor up. Bring in better and better people. Bring in more and more successful people. So that way your business eventually moves away from you and doesn't need you to run it. That's where real freedom is created. Real freedom is created when people know what to do, they know how to do, and they don't need to call or ask you anything. Obviously, if they don't need to call or ask you anything and they're out doing their own work for their own friends, for their own family, for their own reasons, then they never have to get with you at all. Then that frees you up to do a whole lot of stuff. But if you consistently sponsor people that have less success than you, that have less knowledge than you, that have less going, obviously that's going to be difficult too. So you bring them in and you have to have a system to plug those people into. And that's where the 10 core is there. You have to have a system to plug those people into so that way they can learn and grow and become who they need to be able to move past you or move at your level so that way they don't necessarily need you anymore. This is what we're talking about, creating an independent business. So I was taught to make a list of 100 people, which was long and painful. Then I was taught some crazy contacts. Then I was taught to give a presentation, but I was taught to give a presentation only if I was sitting in front of the person, which meant if they were in Ohio, I drove there, which meant if they were in southern Indiana, I drove there, which meant if they were in Colorado, I flew there. I was taught to get face-to-face with people. And here's the thing, I did it. I remember driving from Cleveland to Cincinnati, 5.5, maybe 6 hours with traffic and everything, to show up, sit down. I want to say we sat down at a McDonald's maybe. I shared with them about an hour, and they were like, yeah, this really isn't for me, and then I drove home. $12-hour round trip. Painful. Costly. In reality, stupid. Like, it was stupid. The reason that they were teaching that is because that particular business had a lot of people in it who were insurance people, who were basically one-time closers. They weren't there to really build a relationship with people. They were just there to sell people whatever policy they had. It was kind of a wham-bam-slam kind of thing. And the technique was just get them in, just get them in, just get them in. So they would drive there and try to front-load everything on top of them and then drive away. So when I made kind of my system, I thought what would be easier, and what I learned from a guy who had built a system that put 1 million people in, he said, new people, brand new people, right off the bat, the game plan right off the bat is just build a relationship with them in the beginning. Form, family, occupation, recreation, the message. Connect with people. You don't have to build a relationship as much as you have to build rapport. I think that's the first thing that if I was teaching anybody to get people started the right way, you do not have to build a relationship, but you do have to build rapport. How do you do that? Using form or using that agent sheet is really cool to be able to do. Because what it does is it asks all the questions that I would have asked as an expert. Why not start asking the same questions? You'll start coming across as an expert. You'll start really connecting with people. The second part is tell them, look, here's the process. We make a list of 10 people. Here's the contact we're going to use. We're going to use this favor script, and we're going to get 10 people in front of the presentation. When? As fast as possible. Now, we can do it as a group, or we can do it as individuals. Now, if we do it as a group, we can put a bunch of people on a phone call, or if you're within driving distance, we could put them if you're used to this, we could put them at your house. Not kidnap them, but I'm just saying you can invite them over. We can put them at your business, not kidnap them, but just invite them to the business, wherever is convenient. Maybe we could meet up at Starbucks. I like social. I like fun. I like non-pressured situation. What's the easiest way to do it? Probably over the phone. Probably over the phone. One of the guys that's on my team that really hasn't activated yet, but he's gotten me in front of more people than anybody else, just sent out a bunch of messages. He's like, hey, Jeff, I want you to meet Adam. You and Adam should actually talk and network together because you guys have a lot of things in common, and I had thought for a while to connect the two of you. That's how he's connecting everybody. through a three-way text. I said, just 10 people. He has probably done 25. And we've already recruited people. Here's the funny thing. He's never said a word, and he hasn't been on any of the phone calls. He now has a team underneath him. Hasn't said a thing. In fact, he called me, and he's like, I know I've sold some things, like, do I have a check? I'm like, yeah, you've already gotten paid. He's like, well, where's the money? I said, well, because you got in, but you never actually sat down and got started. You just started forwarding people over based on what you knew, and I told you over the phone. I said, we never set up your direct deposit, therefore all your money is still sitting at corporate. He's like, so I've already gotten paid. I'm like, yeah. I mean, can you imagine being in network marketing, already getting paid, not knowing you're getting paid? And I have several people on the team like that. Because I built rapport using an agent profile. I told them the process. What I'd like to see and what I teach people is make a list of 10. Here's what we're going to say to them. Here's how we're going to present to them. And here's the outcome. Therefore, there's no mystery here. There's no situation that we're not going to be prepared for. When you tell new people what is going to happen and what's expected, it actually lowers their anxiety and they're more likely to participate. But here's what I can tell you about the types of people you're going to recruit. And I wrote this down, and it's brutally honest and somewhat funny too. 10 kinds of people that you're going to recruit and try to get started. The first type of people that you recruit and get started are the people who vanish. And I'm talking like vanish, never hear from them, never see them, never talk to them again, ever. These people will vanish. And if you recruit enough of them, I've recruited over 500 people, I've had a lot of people vanish. And I mean gone. Like, I can't get a hold of them, their phone number changes, their address gone, ghosted, not on Facebook, LinkedIn, I can't find them anymore. And if I do see them there, they never respond to another message or anything again. Not negative. They're not negative. They don't hate. They don't send nasty messages. They don't tell you they quit. They just vanish. And it's weird. Because they could be the most talkative person in the world up until the point of signing the application, and then you're like, hey, let's get together and get started. Gone. Vanish. Never see them again. That's one type of person you'll sponsor. The second type is they will get in, and then you're like, okay, you ready to get going? And they're like, not right now. And there's a multitude of excuses for not right now. I'm getting married. I'm getting divorced. I'm moving. Starting my own parish. I'm digging an underground fort. I've heard everything. Everything you could I mean, probably not every single situation that's ever in the world, but I've heard a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff that I'm just like, I didn't even know what to say back. And I'm pretty good at, like, the whole rebuttal thing. I was just like, hey, man, that sounds great. Go for it. I mean, like, what else do you say? I eventually learned that there's not a rebuttal here. It's just, they're just like, not right now. I'm not willing to get started. Now, I've been taught all the rebuttals, right? Well, you spent all this money so far. Why wouldn't you get started? Well, I'm going to help you get started. Well, all the reasons. But here's what I did. I personally hate chasing people to get them in. I personally hate chasing people to get them started. So if somebody's unwilling, there's like a billion people out there. Like, I finally got to a point, and this also has to do with the speed at which I want to grow and do things. I just don't. I'm like, I'm cool. Like, I'm good. I don't. When I say I don't care about their outcome if they don't want to participate. I'm here. I'm still here. I will answer the phone. I will answer the message, but I'm not here to force anybody to do anything. And what that did is that freed me up because I was really I felt really bad. I felt very responsible. Like, how is it I talked this person into paying money and now they're not calling me back. They're not showing up. They're not, like, what did I do? And here's the thing. It was a self-esteem thing. What did I do wrong? It wasn't me. Here's what I found is that same person throughout and I finally went back and I actually looked at it. I said that same person had told me that they had left jobs, that they had left spouses, that they had left kids, that they had left responsibilities, that they stopped making their car payments, that they stopped making their truck payments, that they stopped making their credit card payments, that they just stopped. It wasn't just me. They stopped working out, and they stopped eating good, and there was all these things that they had already quit, and they'd already set the pattern that they quit on a regular basis on everything else they had ever done. And all of a sudden, in my mind, I'm expecting that they're going to come into this and build. You know who the crazy person was? It wasn't them. It was me. For thinking somebody that's quit everything else was all of a sudden, because network marketing was so cool, they're going to do this. Guys, if somebody has a habit of quitting everything else, they're probably going to quit this too. No matter how good you are. No matter how exciting the product is. No matter what the product does. So that was 2, the not nows. The third one is that I'll come to the next one. You know, and I have people 15, 20 years later, man, I'll be at the next one. And they're still telling me it's the next one. Just let me know. I'll put it on my calendar. I'll write it down. And some of them did. I'm like, they wrote it down. How could they not? They don't show up. But I still call them. Here's the thing. There's hundreds of stories of people that you called and called and called and called and called, and then all of a sudden, it's time. All of a sudden, the clock hits 12, and it had been slowly moving towards 12 for years. My particular sponsor, the company that I'm in right now, just told me a story that his cousin, who's a pastor of a church, had told him for the last seven years, not now, not now, not now, not now, not now. All of a sudden, they had gone on a trip somewhere, and some things changed in his cousin's personal life, not in work, but just in his personal life. And he's like, hey, you know that thing that you're doing? It's time. I'm ready. 7 years. That's a long time. But it shows that if you stick and stay long enough, if you stay in the field, don't chase the birds off the field, but if you stay in the field, eventually the harvest will come. But you have to be ready. You have to be ready and you have to be committed. That's that long-term thinking that we were talking about earlier. So there's the next times. Number 4, the people who are ready to get ready. I'm ready. I'm ready to do this. Let's get together, and you sit down with them, and they're like, okay, I'm ready. Let's make a list. But I'm ready. I know you're ready. But I'm finishing a couple more things, but I'm ready. Okay. You're ready. You're ready to get ready. I have a bunch of people who are ready to get ready. They never get ready. They want to get ready. They talk about getting ready. And it's almost like they're talking themselves into it. I now understand what they're trying to do is their self-esteem is so low they're trying to talk themselves into it. So they get together with me because I have the belief and I am doing it. And they just keep talking about it because it's like they're trying to get kind of past that certain point where they can go into activity. And sometimes it just takes long enough, and all of a sudden somebody pops out and they're ready to go. And it's been years in some cases. But you have to keep doing the right things as all these people do this stuff to you. You just have to stay on track. Not get derailed. Next. So as you see, the level of commitment is getting a little better as you go. And now these are people who get in. These are not the people who just say, I'll show up. These are people who actually get in, pay the money, show up. They're on auto ship or they're on the monthly. They bought the product. Now it's going to get really interesting. Here's some people that come out. They attend. They come in late and they leave early. I never get to talk to them. Had a bunch of people like this. I had recruited enough people. I had people come to the meeting. They always came late. They always left early. Always had somewhere else to be. We're interested in viewing what was going on, but not actually producing inside of it. Now, why would I even tell you about these first 5? Because some of you will recruit. This will be some of the first people you recruit, and you'll think it's your fault. You'll think it's something you did. You'll think it's the company. You'll think it's the product. You'll think it's the compensation. You'll think it's the process. You'll think it's something that's going on. It's them. And here's the thing. In real estate, this happens. In insurance, this happens. In the mortgage business, this happens. In massage, this happens. I actually have had people come in to an interview in our holistic health practice. They'll say, I want to do this. They'll get trained. They're like, I'm ready, and I'll never see them again. Happens. They'll actually go take the certification. They'll get certified. They'll send me the certification. Never see them again. I've had some people that come in, they'll get certified, they'll work, they'll make more money than they've ever made in their life, and within 2 months they destroy themselves. Meaning they'll self-sabotage themselves and start talking themselves out of it because they don't believe they're worthy of that kind of money. Because it happens so fast. It's happened to more than one person. It's not you, it's not the company, it's not the product, it's just that's how people are. Number 6. The 6th type of person, they'll come in and they'll attend. And they'll attend, and they'll attend, and they'll attend, and these people are interesting. They'll come out, they'll say, I'm ready. They're here, they'll cheer on, they'll show up, they'll smile, they're dressed right. They'll never do anything. It is a social club to them. They like coming for the positivity. And that's all they need. That's all they want. And if you pressure them, force them, create an environment where they feel like they're not welcome or not wanted, you'll blow them out. So it's kind of like you have to be happy for the people who show up, regardless. And I guarantee if I taught this inside of a seminary to pastors or rabbis or anybody who runs any type of organization, they would probably fall out of their seats laughing. Because it happens there too. The 7th type of person, they'll attend and they'll study. And they'll take notes. And they'll be like engaged and involved. They appear like it's going to happen. But they don't bring anybody. The other people, they'll attend, but they don't really pay attention during anything. They'll ask the same question 600 times. This person knows. Like, you'll ask them a question, they're like, oh yeah, on page 4, there's this. They will actually point stuff out to me. Did you realize that philosophy has been spelled wrong for 3.5 years on our slides? No, I didn't realize that. You might want to change it. You're right. I do want to change it. I'm thankful that I'm glad for those type of people. 8, they'll attend, they'll study, and watch this. This is where it starts happening. They'll work at like 30% of what they could do, what their potential is. Maybe not even 30, maybe 10%. But somewhere between 0 and 30%. They'll talk to people, and every once in a while they'll actually bring somebody out. And actually they'll recruit somebody every once in a while. When I saw this happen for the first time, I wanted to take this person and make them into a millionaire tomorrow. The problem is this person's entire life is ran at 10 to 30% of potential. That's the pace they move at. This is the tortoise and the hare story. This is one of those stories where they just come in, they do their thing at their pace. If you push them, they'll stop working. If you push them, they'll stop working. If you push them, if you force it, they won't do nothing. Number 9, they'll attend, they'll study, and these people work at probably 50% of their potential. The funny thing is if you have enough people in, 8 and 9 will eventually become 80 to 90% of your income. It's crazy how that works. Crazy how it works. Eventually, there'll be 100 people in the room, and 10 people in the room randomly will bring somebody up to the front, and 8 of them get started in one night. And you're like, what just happened? And then I went back and I looked at the numbers. I was like, That's funny. Those were the guys that sat there for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and months and sometimes even years, and all of a sudden they would just bring out a couple people, and every time it was a little bit different. And all of a sudden, number 9, there were a couple people that was like, oh, it's consistent. Look, this person's brought somebody out every single month for the last 6 months. They brought out 2 or 3 people, and every single month they have a new guy, a new guy, a new guy, a new guy, a new guy. And they're just going fast enough to tip the scale of attrition where their team's actually growing. The level before that, the 30%, the 0 to 30%, they'll get somebody in and lose them. And they'll get somebody in and lose them. They can't beat attrition because they're just not going fast enough. And then, 10, you'll recruit 500, 1,000 people, and all of a sudden somebody comes in, and you haven't even talked to them yet. You haven't even had a conversation. And they bring in a new person. They bring in another person. They bring in another person. They promote. They promote it, and you don't even know them. I used to hear stories about this happening. And I thought it was fake. I was like, this is fake. And the first time it happened, I was like, no freaking way. You know what I mean? I was like, wait a minute. Who is this guy? Who is it? Wait, he's on he's on our team. When did he get in? 7 days ago. He's already promoted? What? Who recruited him? I don't know. Eventually, I had to pick up the phone and I had to start meeting these people. I started having conversations with people who produced. Well, who got you in? Do you talk to them anymore? No. Did you get started? Did somebody get you started? No. I just, I talked to some people. I loved what I saw, and I just started talking to people. If you recruit enough people, this happens. But look at that list. Vanish, not now, next time, ready to get ready, attended, late, leave early, attend and study. 7 out of 10 of this group don't do nothing. Your residual income comes, the majority of it comes from people who do nothing. So what a lot of people do is they're like, my people aren't doing anything. I'm like, congratulations, you have people not doing anything. That's where 70% of your income comes from. That's the way it works. It's not the way you want it, it's just the way that it works. This is why the gym, if you see these big gyms with all this fancy equipment, there's never a line out the door. Never. Why? Because 70% of the people who are paying into those gyms never come out. Somebody will come out once a month, walk through the gym, use the sauna, use the shower, leave. They pay every month. But there'll be 10 people. 10 people show up every day. 10 people show up, if the gym's big enough, it's been there long enough. 10 people show up every day at 6 a.m. And then you have another group at 9, about 10 of them. And then you'll have another group about noon. And then you have another group about 3. And then you might have 25 or 30 that show up on a regular basis that at least sort of work out. Between 5 and 7, maybe 8. And then it starts dwindling down, and by 9 o'clock, it's the same group of 10. And if it's a 24-hour gym, by midnight, I've been doing this for years, and it's the same group of 5 or 6 people. Different gyms, different areas, different countries. Well, I mean, it was different countries because I was going to the gym when I was in Brazil, and I kind of saw the same thing. I was like, this is the same group of people. Don't think it's going to be different for you. You get them in, you get them started, but the key is did you get started? Did you make your list of 10? Do you have down what you're doing, where you're doing it consistently yet? Who are you on this list? Who are you on this list? Where do you want to be? Where do you want to be? I was like, I want to end up being that guy that's all out. Now, what do I have to do to be that guy? Like, is there a certain age? Is there a certain person? Is there a certain background? And what I realized is when I really started looking at it, the people who went all out, they just had something in them, and it finally clicked for them, and they were like, I'm going to be that person. That's it. I'm just going to be that person. They found out what to do, and they started doing it. And they started doing it even when it wasn't fun, even when it wasn't convenient, even when they didn't feel like it, and they just kept doing it and kept doing it. And I've seen females do it, and I've seen males do it. I've seen single people do it. I've seen young people do it. I've seen older people do it. I've seen it inside the country and outside the country. For years, I've seen it happen. And it's really just people who made the decision. Anybody can go anywhere on that chart that they want. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Bess. Hold on one second. I think you'll have to unmute yourself. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Jeff. I really enjoyed that 10 kinds of people, like walking somebody down the ladder of the degrees, that, the invisible people all the way up to the promoters. That was great. And as Jim Rohn would say, you might want to ask yourself, well, why did they disappear? Why did they say they were going to be there and they didn't? You know, why did they say they're going to be at the next one? Why did they say they're ready and they weren't? You know, why did they just attend and not do anything? And he goes, wouldn't sign up for that class. The white class, don't try to figure it out. Go on to the next person. Psychologically, I can tell you all the reasons why. You know, it's that they need to come see me. They need to heal stuff inside, but there's hope for them. But first, they have to be ready to heal these things, and you're not that person. You're not their therapist, and it's not your job to dance faster or dance, sing a different song for them, and maybe that will work or maybe that will work. So you just go on, the seed and the sower, that the seeds fall on barren ground, and I don't know what percent, probably most of them, are going to fall on barren ground, the rocky ground, dry ground that doesn't get water. The wind's going to blow it away. The birds are going to eat them. They said that's the way people are in network marketing, just like Jeff said. So don't wonder why. Why didn't that happen? This guy promised he was going to be my top star one. He promised he was going to get in and all this. And you get your hopes all up, and then they get dashed. So and you wonder why. What did I do wrong, or what's wrong with them, or how can I get them back, or how can I get them active to do what they said? And Jim Rohn just goes, wouldn't sign up for that class, the Y class, to try to figure it out. So you don't waste your time. You don't need to waste your time. But from the therapist seat, these people have been told when they were kids, you can't do that, you can't have that, they'll sabotage, settle for it, just like Jeff said. But here's a tip that therapists know: never work harder than your client. Jeff said, it's not that I don't care, but just don't care more than they care. Match their efforts, make them earn your attention. Wait and see what they produce before you match that and before you invest time and energy with them. And that's going to be just, invest 80% of your energy and 20% of your people, the top 20% of your people. That's after you have about, 100 on your team. So what happens to people that are like this? And maybe you've heard this list, and maybe you sheepishly admitted to yourself, well, I am a number 6 or 4, or maybe I'm a number 9. And maybe you can identify yourself on these things. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why you might be there. When you go, I want to be ready. I want to get ready to get ready. I wish I was ready. I hope that I will get ready. So if you're like that, let me just talk about that for a minute. It has to do with what you heard Jeff speak about, your dreams when you were a kid. We're trained in the society to become followers, to become sheep, to make somebody else rich. So we're trained to be workers in the system and be happy with what you have. Don't rock the boat. Settle. And also these programmers will downplay money. Money's the root of all evil. Rich people are all greedy. It's harder for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than a rich man to get into heaven. So don't aim for that. I think we've all got that. I think I'm still clearing that out from my childhood. And if you're a rich person, it means you're a bad person. It means you've been taking advantage of people. It means that you're greedy. It means that you will put money before people. I think that was in some of my parents' training and thoughts. You can even hear their thoughts. You can hear their comments. Even if they don't say it to you, you can hear their comments they might say to each other about rich people. And so you pick that up and you go, well, I sure don't want to be rich because I want my mom and dad to like me. So I sure don't want to be rich. I don't want to be successful. People will be jealous of me. People will think I'm stuck up. People will think I'm no longer their friend. I'll lose my good friends if I'm rich because I'll be different than them. So I better not stick out. I better not stand out in the crowd. I better not stand heads above everybody else because then I'll be ostracized by people. I'll lose my friends. I'll lose their favor. So we do stop dreaming, and that's where we die. It happens usually in school, if not a bit before, when you hear, you can't, maybe at home even a child hears, and I'm an inner child therapist, so I have the lists. I have lists of about 2,000 things that you hear as a child that work against you, about 2,000 of them. And I help people go through releases to let go of these things, the negative programmings, and replace them with the positive. But that's an awful lot to release. And when you go through this I have this questionnaire, it's about 12 pages long. And you go through it and you check down all the ones that you heard or that are in your inner voice that you tell yourself every day. I can't do this. I don't deserve it. Who am I? Play it safe. Play it small. Fly under the radar. All these things that I think they can be very deep and subconscious. So I have like all these pages and pages, and you look at these things and you identify them, and you think, oh my gosh, this is in me, but I didn't bring my conscious attention to it until now. Well, once you do, you can do this yourself. You can just write down the things that go through your head. If we were to say, okay, Jim, you've got a $500,000 check coming from your company this month. I just saw it in the back end. It's coming your way. Just write down what you think you would counter that with. No way, can't be. I'm not used to that. What do I do with that money? And again, like Jeff said, you might actually sabotage where you go down to the level that you're comfortable at. So just pretend that you are getting a $500,000 check next month. What would go through your head and your emotions? Write those down. Get those out and look at it. Do those serve you? Do you want to let go of those? Do you want to have the positive opposite programming? Dreams prepare our minds for life's possibilities. Shoot for the moon, or is it, aim for the stars, shoot for the moon, but aim as high as you can, even if you don't make it, because that is going to make you land higher than if you didn't dream at all. And don't worry about not reaching your dream. Worry about not having any and staying on the ground. Shoot very, very high, very, very high. And that will help you go farther than if you didn't. Talked with a network marketer one day in one of my BNI groups, and I said, what's the toughest thing that your people have to work against? And she said, it's the paradigm. A lot of them can't see themselves getting past making $4,000 a month, so they sort of keep themselves there because they've never done that before. So they will sabotage themselves working beyond that. And what you don't need to do is don't let your past define you. Because how can you sponsor up if you let your past define you? What you have to do is keep raising the bar and keep raising your vision. So what I recommend to do that is to run a mind movie, seeing yourself where you want to go and enjoying it, enjoying all the sights and sounds, and use all your five senses to imagine this. And run this mind movie for a minute in the morning and a minute in the evening. See yourself there and practice what I call the law of as if, the law of assumption. Pretend you're there, feel it, hear who is around, hear what people are saying around you, see who's around you, see what kind of environment you're in, and then hold to this. Really immerse yourself and be there. It's like you're taking a little future vacation and you are existing there in that minute, in that mind movie. So you can do that for a minute in the morning and a minute in the evening. And personally, I like vision boards. Don't get stuck on them too much, but what if you took 10 minutes out tomorrow night instead of watching TV, pulled out some old magazines, and pull out the kind of house you'd like to live in, the people that you'd like to be around, how you'd like to dress, the car you'd like to drive, the places you'd like to visit and vacation, or the changes that you'd like to make in the world, building schools in Africa or whatever. And what if you put those on a board and glued them down and you pulled out positive words that inspired you? What if you did that for 10 minutes? And then you've got your vision board. And I have friends who have held up their vision board to their life and where they're living and looked at the vision board and looked at the house they're in now, and they were identical. These things can manifest because what you put when you get something in your vision in your mind, that's like your camera producing that subconscious film. That's your film. Then your life would be the finished picture. So where you aim your camera, that's what it puts out. So encourage you to use the power of your subconscious mind, because it is very powerful, and create that. Help your team to do that too. When you first set them up, when they get started with the agent profile, get their whys, their dreams, their goals. And even encourage them to double or 10 times that. Now, maybe 10 times is too much for some people, but maybe encourage them to take the next step up or double that. You know, what if the income that they want, what if they were to double that and reach for that? You know, shoot for the stars, land on the moon, something like that. So playing it safe is our enemy. Dreams are the way out of that, the ticket out of that. I like what Jeff said about rapport. I heard the other day, Tom Chenault said, you don't really need to meet more people. You just need to get better at connecting with the people that you already know and getting to know them and letting them know you care about them, and then seeing what they need in their life, and then letting them know what you have. You just need to get to know them. Let them, be curious about them, be curious about what's going on in their life, or new people that you meet, and do the FORM or FORD. Just be curious and get to know right away. You can get rapport right away with people. I've done that too, and they end up telling me their life story. I don't know why I'm telling you this, or we're on a plane or something like that, and all of a sudden they're pouring out everything just because I listen non-judgmentally and I care and ask curious questions. You can get anybody to tell you their deepest, darkest secrets and fears and hopes and dreams if you listen. And then they know you care, and you can offer them a solution to whatever it is that they're going through. That one about the 7 years, I've heard that too. There was a guy who, very, very, very successful businessman. He met with a friend every year in the coffee shop, and every year the guy, pitched the network marketing. Every year he said no. And finally one year he said yes. Things changed in his life, so he was ready to do that. Just a quick little review about getting started. Use the agent profile with new recruits. Use it with yourself if you haven't yet, but you'll find that in my emails is a link for you all where it opens up all the tools, and at the top of that is the agent profile developed by Jeff. So use that to know your new recruit, their hopes, the dreams, the whys, and learn about them. Get that rapport and that relationship going. You'll find this also in the Facebook group, MLM Millionaire Club Facebook group. The top post is called Announcement. That's the pinned post now called the Announcement. Open that up. There's your Always Get a Yes book. And then there is your link. Near the bottom is the link with all these wonderful, wonderful tools in them. And by the way, in the Always Get a Yes book is how to do your 10-minute presentation. And on the other links, the page with all those links, there's even more details about that. So actually, Jeff just posted a post about that in the MLM Millionaire Club Facebook group, and I copied that over to that page with some details, some bullet points to make sure you include this in your 10-minute presentation. And by the way, how many of you have your 10-minute presentation? I don't know if you can raise your hands right now, but I know Jeff does, and I have written one as well for the work we're doing here in school. But how many of you have done that? That would be part of getting started right, would it not? I know some of you have worked with us and arranged or hired us to work with you privately to get your 10-minute presentation really honed. That's great. We're available to help you with that. If not, if you're not prepared to do that, use that checklist for yourself, and use the Always Get a Yes book for tips on how to write it out. So get yourself started right. Once you have that, you'll feel confident to sponsor people, because then you can just copy that and hand that over to them to read. It's all company compliant information. Make sure, of course, that that's what it is. Talked with a lady tonight who said, well, we have a great walkthrough. Our company just recommends that all we do is we contact people and we send them to this link, and it walks them through everything. And I said, great. Use that information to write your 10-minute presentation from and give it to them in person. She goes, our company doesn't want us to do that. I said, tell them to look at the stats. How many people are actually making it over to that link? How many people actually open it? And how many people watch all the stuff that they want them to do? It's probably very, very little. Whereas if you do the 10-minute presentation, then they've got it. You've told it to them in person. They've got it. Then you could send them to that, or a third-party call, or an event. But see, the companies don't get this yet. Maybe they will. Jeff and I need to go and talk to all the network marketing companies and get them straight and let them know that the people aren't watching the videos, and that their people can get their 10-minute presentation right, or they can help their people write the 10-minute presentation. But that's what we recommend. So that's why you guys in our school here, and the people that we're working with, are having so much success. Maybe, let's spread the words. This lady said, well, actually, I did share the favor script with my upline. And they said, that's a cool script. That's a cool idea. So, yeah, they can use the favor script to then send people to that link, but they'll do better if they do what we suggest. So we're trying to preach this and change that. So my purpose of saying that right now is, how many of you got your 10-minute presentations written? You know who you are, and we support you in doing that. In fact, when you get it written, once you log in and declare that in the Facebook group, say, I got mine written, because then I want to congratulate you for that. Yes, it'll take you an hour or two to do it, or maybe even more when you refine it. It should cover those points, and I think it should cover the 4 personalities. And I put that today, I put some of the bullet points about that. Make sure you cover the 4 personalities in that Facebook group. Like the dominant person loves to be in control of their life, and John Maxwell says the way to be in control of your life is to be in control of your money. So show them how to, do you want to make more money so you can be in control of your life? The I person, the influential person, likes fun. Do you want to have some more amazing experiences in your life? You can do that here. And the S person likes relationships, like me. So, for them, you include in your 10-minute presentation, do you want to have, develop lifelong friendships, like a family, like a second family that you can have the rest of your life, and you appeal to them. And then the C people, like the options, do you want to have options for a better life, and raise the lid and throw off the fences. So that you can have this. You can have freedom in your life. Okay, so that's the agent profile, teaching the favor script, give them your 10-minute presentation. Talk to them that it's their responsibility to build a business, not yours. They're going to help to be independent from you as soon as possible, and there's going to be ups and downs, and how do you want me to handle that when you disappear, when you go missing in action, when how are you going to handle that? And do you want me to come after you, or do you want me to let you go? Do you want me to remind you why you joined and what your why is? So show them the product, tools, back end, comp plan, and all that stuff that they need to know. Help them get their first customer, distributor check, recognition, get them to their first event real fast. Get this all done as fast as you can, because most distributors quit within the first 2 months, and you want to prevent that. Specify just the next step they want to take. Don't overload them too much. Just say, check into the back end and do this and this, and let me know when you've done that, and I'll tell you what the next thing to do. Don't overload them. But it's cool when you say, let me know when you've got that done. Then you don't ever wonder if they've done it or not. Ask them for a testimonial story of their product or business within 60 days. Then teach them your team culture, simple things that you do every day. We invite, we present, and then we get that person to an event. or a third-party call or whatever. Okay, and lastly, I would like to talk about the basics, which you're in, and why you're in this class, why you want to stay in this class, why you're in the right place, and how you can help your team when they get started right to recognize how valuable the basics and the fundamentals and the foundations are too. Let them know this from the beginning, imprint this with them from the beginning. It's said that most people fail due to not following the basics. We named this class the Quick Start Basics because we like to start quick, right? And we like to imprint for you why to start the basics. There's a man named Darius Farrow that wrote this. The biggest mistake you can make is to ignore the basics in your profession. When you ignore the foundation, you will never be consistent. Without having the basics in order, you'll never achieve your full potential. And there's only one way to improve the basics, by repetition. Helps me to appreciate and value what we're doing here in this class. A lot of times we ignore the basics, or we think, oh, I don't need that class, because, and we fail because four things. We think we know everything, or we think that basic thing isn't that important, or we forget it, or we change it. People do change scripts, and people that I've coached, I say, okay, well, what is the script? And they say something 50% different than what it is. They go, yeah, I say the script right, I just don't know why I'm not getting results. I go, well, tell me the script. And they say it, and it's like, 30 to 50% different. And I say, even that one word makes a difference. Go back to the script. But we think we know everything, or we think the basics are not important, or the fundamentals, or we forget them, or we change them. That's why we're here, to keep on track. We keep in this Quick Start Basics class just to keep us all on track and to deepen it so we don't forget it becomes part of us. Always stay, more advice, always stay a beginner. Repeat the basics to get great and stay great. Underline, stay great. It's hard to get great, but it's even harder to stay great and keep raising the bar for yourself. Repeat the basics because we forget things easily. Only the great ones are here to stay versus the one-hit wonders. I did talk with one lady who was a six-figure earner in a couple companies. I think she's building again now. But I proposed, hey, you want to come and join our class? And she was offended. And she said, do you realize, what I've built? Why would I go into a basics class? And it offended her. So I told her all this stuff. She didn't come join, but she believed she was beyond the basics, and that is a big mistake. Always stay a beginner. Repeat the basics to get good and stay good. Never think you've made it or that you're smart enough. Never think you've made it or that you're smart enough. I've actually had to look at that in myself, too, because I think, well, as a therapist for 35 years, I've seen it all, I've done it all, I've studied it all, all the greats. I know everything there is to know about therapy. Well, guess what? It's more fun to open up to new developments or new ways of thinking or new ways to put things together, new ways to help people because people shift and change. So I've had to look and say, okay, yes, I have this history, but let me approach life as a beginner, as a new person with a fresh and wonder and openness, and be coachable and teachable myself. So never think you've made it or that you're smart enough. I'm smart enough. I don't need to learn more things like this lady. She's not here. What if, yeah, she could do six figures, but what if she could 10 times that? What if she could do 7 by being in this class? So just because this is called the basics, don't underestimate it. Just because we're charging you only $25 for it, don't underestimate it. Oh, maybe I don't want to attend, or maybe I won't watch the replays. This could be worth $1,000 a month and easily make you a lot, 10 times that, 100 times more than that. So just because we repeat, we call it basics, and we charge so little, don't underestimate the gift and the value and the power that's in this class. Next time is class number 2, which is Be Here a Year from Now, which is about commitment. And we'll have some more cool things to share with you then. We hope you got a lot out of this. And want to also welcome Pasha, who's come on, David Roeder, and Adrian. And now we can open it up. Oh, Memorial Weekend. We hope you guys have a good one and that you reach out to people who want the freedom to break out. We have the freedom in this great country, but the freedom to break out of the limitations that are mostly are self-made, that they can bust out of and have a better life in network marketing. I don't know of a better profession to help people do this. So let's reach out to people. You're at social events or whatever tomorrow. Realize there's people around you who need to know what you have, like a post Jeff put in the club, the Facebook group. 70% of people don't have $400 to cover an emergency, or 40%, something like that. Anyway, a lot of people don't even have $400 to cover themselves in an emergency, or some don't even think they could round it up or borrow it. People need to hear. Let's reach out to them. Okay. Done.
Okay. We're going to start with what was your takeaway for today? Bess, you want to help me go through this?
Sure. And Becky, you're first at the top list here.
Oh, okay. Showing up is 80% of the game. Get the basics down first. And all this other stuff was wonderful, too.
Thank you, dear. And next, Dr. Chris.
I really liked the mindset and then the different types of people. I also really liked your explanation of why people are stuck or where they fit in the different types of people and their working potential. And so thank you guys. Great job.
Thank you. And Jim.
The ROI, return on investment. You got to really gauge that. So that hit or resonated with me the most. And the types of personalities and the people to lead. If you're in this long enough, I think I've done about 3 or 4 of those. But it's all good stuff, and you're right. You do have to know the basics to have a foundation to build on. So this is all good stuff. Thanks always. We'll chat later.
Thank you, Jim. And Steve. And you're unmuted, Steve. If you're there, we'll come back then. Let's go to Adrian, 79973. And Adrian, you're unmuted, huh? Okay, we'll come back. We'll go now to David Roeder.
Oh, okay. Thing that really always gets me is recruit up. Always recruit up. You know, another one of my mentors, you know, he always says recruit up the socioeconomic chain. Best I know you know who that is, but and then what was it? I just lost the other one. Shit. Sorry.
Let it come to you when you're not struggling. It'll pop in while somebody else is talking. So can we hear that with you?
Yeah. Come back to me.
Okay, thanks. I like the sponsor up too. That was cool too. Thank you. And lastly is Pasha.
Thank you. This was an awesome call. I enjoyed what Jeff shared about the 10 types of people, and then how you shared some of the barriers that might be obstacles for those people. So the entire call was great. Everything I heard was great, and I can't wait to listen to it again. Thank you.
Awesome. And our replays are going to be out before the next Wednesday, or anyway, they'll be a few days. So, but they will get out to you. And Pasha, before you got on, I was acknowledging you for reaching level 3, and we do have a certificate coming for you. So you and Jim are in the level 3 club right now. Who has a success, large or small, that we could share with you?
What was it? I just I have a couple, sort of. This one guy, one of my clients, massage clients, I've been talking to him about my product. Actually, it kind of predates this product. I was in another company, and I told him about that probably good about 10 years, more than that, 10 years ago, about 7.5, 8 years ago, or something like that, 7, 8 years ago. And he didn't do anything. I kept trying to tell him, you know. And then I finally started with this new company, and with that information script, you know, just tell him the presentation. He, you know, he kept saying, "Oh, I'm trying to sign up and do it himself." And finally, last Saturday, he enrolled. Well, I wouldn't say he enrolled, but he joined. He said yes to the product, and we got him started.
Awesome.
And then another one of my clients, she, you know, she not client, it's the customer. You know, she just had to. So instead of having it come every month, she wants to do it like every month and a half, every 45 days. And I told her about this our new product, and she was like, "Okay, I'm buying it." So she bought that, and I'm really liking the presentation script versus like, "Oh, here, let me tell you," you know, like every network marketer tells you how to do it. It's like, be secretive, but I got all the information for you. Be secret. It's like, here's what I'm doing. Yes or no? I mean, do you want more information or not? So it's really working a lot better for me.
Awesome, David. Congratulations on that, and keep expecting that. Expect a yes. Expect that people will be ready, and you could even be like a little surprised. You're not really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I heard that. You know, also on a side note is I don't like to get recognition. It's just not my thing. You know, so when, you know, Jim and Pasha have done it, it's like I've been there past it. I'm just not looking for the recognition. But I've gone, I don't know how many of these shows I've done. So I've done a lot.
Oh, I'm happy to hear that. And I won't recognize you, but I'm happy to hear that.
I mean, it's okay. I've done it. I've done a lot of them. I just haven't said that I've done them. It's probably good over 60 since my first so-called certificate. So.
Well, you may be ahead of everybody and are not getting recognition for it.
Yeah.
Some people do it just are you a person like me? You do it just because you love the learning?
Yeah. It's like I don't need the recognition, because I feel like that's gloating and ego, and I'm trying to let go of my ego.
May I do therapy for a moment?
Sure.
Is there somewhere in between where we can love ourselves and receive other people's joy in what we've accomplished without the ego necessarily, except a healthy ego, but without negative ego?
Well, ego is edging God out for me. And it's not about ego. I mean, a part of me wants to say, yay, I've done, the self in me wants to jump on top of the roof and shout and say, yes, I've done it. And the spiritual side of me says, you don't need all that.
Both are true.
So I battled both sides.
If you do 60, won't that inspire? Who here is inspired by hearing that? Wow, doesn't that make you want to, he can do it, I think I can do it. Oh, 60, six levels. Because we've been teaching this how many months? How many? I have to look and see. That's probably about how many we've done. So,
with all the lunchtime shows and this one, and some, done a bunch of them. So, yeah.
There's a healthy celebration. That's what I want to say. Where we share in the joy. And yet we know you don't need the recognition, but it's fun to celebrate with you, and it's fun to inspire other people by what you're doing.
Okay, well, okay.
So thanks for saying it. See, you took a step by saying it.
Yeah, that's it'd be a conversation for another time, I guess, for a different kind of conversation.
But it does not make you more valuable in my eyes. It does not change your value. Your value was already up there with me, and it doesn't mean that you need that to have value.
Mm-hmm.
That's intact. That is your behavior, and that's your skill or accomplishment or whatever. But your value as a person, that is not needed to be valuable. It's different.
Yes.
If that helps. Thank you for letting me do this with you here.
Yes.
A reality moment. Okay, thank you. And Steve and Adrian, are either of you by the phone right now, because we didn't hear from you yet? Maybe you guys have stepped away. Oh, sorry, Adrian is 973.
What room?
But Adrian's gone. Okay.
Well, I can't until I'm down here. I will be finished pretty soon.
We can hear you, Becky.